Texas, 1975. Morning light cuts through the cottonwood trees lining a gravel driveway. The air smells like honeysuckle and fresh-cut grass. A powder blue Chevrolet Impala sits idling at the end of the drive engine, ticking in the heat. Inside the car, a man sits frozen. His name is James Morrison. He is 56 years old. His hands grip the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles have gone white. On the passenger seat beside him rests a brown paper bag. Inside the bag, wrapped in butcher paper, is 2 pounds of premium bacon. The expensive kind, not the thin strips from the supermarket. This is thick-cut hickory bacon from a proper butcher shop, the kind that costs twice as much as it should. Morrison has been sitting here for 23 minutes. He cannot make himself open the car door. The farmhouse in front of him is small, white clapboard siding, green shutters. An American flag hangs from a pole near the front porch, moving slowly in the breeze. Chickens scratch in the yard. A vegetable garden runs along the south side of the house, tomato plants heavy with fruit. It looks like peace. It looks like every other Texas farm Morrison has ever seen. But the man who lives inside this house once tried to kill him. Morrison reaches up and touches the dog tags hanging around his neck. They are not his dog tags. They belong to Lieutenant Daniel Sullivan, Chicago, 22 years old, dead 32 years. Morrison has worn them every single day since. He takes the bacon, gets out of the car, walks toward the house. Each step feels like walking through deep water. He climbs 3 wooden steps to the porch, raises his hand, knocks. Footsteps inside. The door opens. Klaus Weber stands in the doorway, 62 years old, gray hair, weathered face, reading glasses hanging from a chain around his neck. He wears a plaid shirt and work jeans. His hands are calloused from farm work. The 2 men stare at each other. Recognition comes slowly, then all at once. Morrison's voice comes out hoarse. "I'm the pilot who couldn't follow you." Weber's eyes fill with tears. "I'm the pilot who killed your friend." The silence stretches. 32 years of silence compressed into 10 seconds. Then Morrison lifts the paper bag. His hands are shaking. "I brought you bacon." Weber's face crumples. American bacon. The best. Weber starts to cry. He laughs and cries at the same time. "Come in. Please come in." Morrison steps across the threshold. Into the home of the man who killed his best friend. Into the home of the man who changed his life forever. The screen door closes behind him with a soft click. Hold that image. 2 old men, former enemies, standing in a kitchen in Texas. Between them, a package of bacon wrapped in butcher paper. Now we need to go back. 32 years back, to understand how 2 men who tried to kill each other ended up crying over breakfast meat in a farmhouse in Texas. This is a story about an engine. But more than that, it is a story about what engines can do when they are built by people who refuse to let boys die in the sky. December 15th, 1942. 27,000 feet above Schweinfurt, Germany. Captain James Morrison is 26 years old. He has been in combat for 6 months. He has flown 38 missions. He has seen things that wake him up screaming. Today he is flying escort for a formation of B-17 bombers, big, slow, heavy aircraft stuffed with young men and explosives. The bombers are trying to reach a ball-bearing factory deep inside Germany. If they can destroy that factory, they can cripple German tank production. But they have to get there first. Morrison flies a P-51 Mustang. It is the most beautiful fighter plane ever built. Sleek, fast, deadly. North American aviation created a masterpiece of aerodynamic design. Every line is perfect. Every surface is smooth. When Morrison takes off, the Mustang feels like an extension of his body. But there is one problem: the engine. The Allison V1710 engine is magnificent at low altitude. Down near the ground, the Mustang can outfly almost anything in the sky. But up here, where the bombers live and die, where the air is thin and cold, and the sky is the color of steel, the Allison engine begins to suffocate. Morrison can feel it now. The power bleeding away. The controls going mushy. His airspeed dropping. He checks his altimeter. 25,000 feet. He needs to be higher. The German fighters always attack from above. They climb to 30,000 feet, sometimes higher, and then they dive down through the bomber formations like hawks through a flock of pigeons. Morrison tries to climb. He pushes the throttle forward. The engine responds but weakly, like a man trying to run with a bag over his head. 26,000 feet, 26,500. The engine is coughing now, temperature rising, power falling. His wingman's voice crackles over the radio. "Hawk, I'm losing power. I have to turn back." Morrison looks over. Lieutenant Daniel Sullivan, Danny, best friend since flight training, kid from Chicago with a laugh that could fill a room. His wife is 7 months pregnant. The baby is due in February. Danny's Mustang is falling behind. Engine struggling. Black smoke trailing from the exhaust. "Stay with me, Danny G. Just a little higher." "I can't, Hawk. She's dying on me." Then Morrison sees them. High above. Black dots against the blue. Focke-Wulf 190s. Maybe a dozen of them. German fighters, fast, heavily armed. Flown by pilots who have been doing this since Poland, since France, since the Battle of Britain. Morrison keys his radio. Bandits high. 11 o'clock, the bomber formation tightens up. Gunners swing their weapons skyward. Everyone knows what is coming. The German fighters begin their dive. Morrison tries to intercept. He pulls back on the stick. The Mustang shudders. The engine screams in protest. 27,000 feet. That's all he can get. That's all the Allison will give him. The Germans flash past at 300 miles per hour. Guns blazing. A B-17 explodes. Just comes apart in midair. Pieces tumbling through the sky like leaves. Another bomber takes hits. Smoke pours from the number 3 engine. It falls out of formation, spiraling down. Morrison dives after the German fighters. Now his engine wakes up. Down here it has power. He closes on a Focke-Wulf. Gets tone. Fires. Misses. The German pilot pulls up. Climbing, escaping into the thin air where American fighters cannot follow. Morrison tries to follow. Pulls back. Climbs. 24,000. 25, 26. The engine is dying again. The German fighter keeps climbing. 28,000. 30,000. Disappearing into the sun. Morrison screams in frustration. He pounds the instrument panel with his fist. Then he hears Danny's voice. Calm, too calm. "Hawk, I'm hit." Morrison whips his head around. Sees Danny's Mustang. Smoke. Fire. The canopy is shattered. Danny bailout can't. Controls are jammed. "Tell Mary I love her. Tell the baby." The radio cuts to static. Morrison watches his best friend's airplane fall. It tumbles end over end, burning. At 15,000 feet, it begins to come apart. Pieces breaking off. Spinning away. No parachute. Morrison circles. Searching. Hoping. Nothing. Just empty sky and the contrails of German fighters climbing away untouchable. Victorious. Morrison lands back at base 90 minutes later. He shuts down the engine. Sits in the cockpit. Cannot move. Ground crew approaches. "Sir, you okay?" Morrison looks at them. His face is blank. Danny, they shake their heads. They already know. Morrison climbs out. His legs barely hold him. He walks 20 feet, drops to his knees, vomits into the grass. That night he writes in his diary. The handwriting is shaky. Some words are crossed out. Some sentences trail off unfinished. December 15th, 1942. Lost Danny today. Couldn't follow the German fighter. Engine quit at 26,000 feet. Watched him burn. His wife doesn't know yet. Baby comes in 2 months. Will never meet his father because our engine couldn't breathe. Morrison stops writing, stares at the page. Then he adds one more line. "I will kill every single one of them." He underlines it 3 times. 3,200 miles east on the other side of the war, a different pilot is celebrating. Hauptmann Klaus Weber lands his Focke-Wulf 190 at an airfield outside Berlin. He has just scored his 32nd kill, an American bomber. He watched it burn all the way down. Weber is 32 years old. He has been flying since 1939. Poland, France, Britain, Russia, North Africa. He has seen the entire war from a cockpit. He believes in the war. He believes in Germany. He believes in National Socialism. He believes that Germany is fighting for survival against an international conspiracy. He believes that Americans are weak, decadent, corrupted by democracy and racial mixing. He believes what he was taught. The other pilots congratulate him. They pour schnapps. They toast his victory. Someone produces a camera. They take a photograph. Weber stands in front of his fighter holding up 3 fingers and a 2, 32. Later in the officers' mess, Weber reads an American propaganda leaflet. These leaflets fall from the bombers, sometimes scattered over German cities. They promise freedom, prosperity, democratic values. Weber laughs. He shows the leaflet to another pilot. Look at this. Americans think we will surrender because they promise us voting rights. The other pilot laughs too, but then he says something that makes Weber pause. Klaus, what if they build better engines? Intelligence says they are working on high-altitude modifications. Weber waves his hand dismissively. Impossible. American mass production is about quantity, not quality. They make automobiles. They make washing machines. They do not make precision aircraft engines. We own the sky above 25,000 feet. We always will. But later, alone in his quarters, Weber looks at the leaflet again. It shows American soldiers. They are smiling. They look healthy, well-fed. Their uniforms are new. Their equipment is shiny. German uniforms are threadbare now. Rations are smaller every month. Equipment is breaking down. Weber crumples the leaflet, throws it away. Propaganda, he tells himself. It has to be propaganda. But a small voice in the back of his mind whispers a question. What if it is not? He ignores the voice, goes to sleep, dreams of falling. 3,000 miles west in Detroit, Michigan, a man sits in his office long after everyone else has gone home. His name is Thomas Brennan. He is 42 years old. He is the chief engineer at Packard Motor Company. For the last 20 years, he has designed automobile engines, straight eights, V12s, powerful, smooth, reliable engines for luxury cars. But tonight, he is not thinking about automobiles. On his desk is a blueprint. It is labeled Rolls-Royce Merlin. It is the most complex aircraft engine blueprint Brennan has ever seen. Next to the blueprint is a letter from the War Department. It is dated 5 weeks ago. Brennan has read it so many times the paper is soft at the creases. The letter says that American bombers are being shot down at an unsustainable rate. It says that American fighter escorts cannot operate at high altitude. It says that the British Rolls-Royce Merlin engine can solve this problem, but Britain cannot manufacture enough Merlins to meet demand. The letter asks if Packard can manufacture the Merlin in America. It asks if Packard can manufacture 10,000 Merlins. Brennan has been studying the blueprints for 5 weeks. He has measured every tolerance. He has calculated every stress point. He has analyzed every manufacturing process, and he has concluded that it is impossible. The Merlin is not designed for mass production. Every engine is hand-fitted. Every tolerance assumes that a skilled craftsman will make final adjustments during assembly. The threads are British Whitworth standard, which no American factory uses. The materials are specified in British units that do not translate cleanly to American measurements. It is a masterpiece of engineering, but it is a craftsman's masterpiece. It cannot be built on an assembly line, except that it has to be. Because this morning, Brennan received a telegram. His son Michael has enlisted. He is 18 years old. He wants to be a pilot. Michael ships out for basic training in 3 months. If American fighters cannot protect the bombers, Michael will be flying those bombers. Unescorted, unprotected. Brennan looks at a photograph on his desk. Michael, smiling, 17 years old, high school graduation. He looks back at the blueprints. There has to be a way. His wife Sarah enters the office. She is carrying a thermos of coffee and a sandwich. Tom, it is after midnight. I know. You have been here since 6 this morning. I know. She sits down across from him. She looks at the blueprints. She does not understand engineering, but she understands her husband. This is about Michael, isn't it? Brennan nods. He cannot speak. If he speaks, he will cry. Sarah reaches across the desk, takes his hand. Can you do it? Can you build this engine? I don't know. The tolerances are impossible. The specifications are incomplete. We would have to redesign every single part. It would take a year, maybe more. Do we have a year? Brennan thinks about Danny Sullivan burning in the sky yesterday. He thinks about the telegram on his desk. He thinks about Michael, 18 years old, wanting to fly. No, we don't have a year. Then you will find a way. Because if you do not, someone else's son will die, and then another, and then maybe ours. Brennan looks at his wife. 23 years of marriage. She knows him better than he knows himself. I will need help, a lot of help. Then ask, if you served in World War II, or if your father served, or your uncle, or your grandfather, you know what was at stake in 1942. You know what it felt like to open the newspaper every morning and read the casualty lists. You know what it felt like to see the Western Union boy coming down your street and praying he would not stop at your house. The people in this story, they were fighting for you, for your father, for every boy who came home because someone in Detroit refused to give up. If you have a story about war production, about a parent or grandparent who worked in a factory, who built engines or tanks or bombers, leave a comment. Tell us their story. Let us honor them together. Because what happened next in Detroit would change the war. But it would take more than engineers. It would take more than blueprints. It would take thousands of ordinary people deciding that failure was not an option. And one of those people was about to walk into Thomas Brennan's life. The next morning, Brennan calls a meeting. He asks for volunteers. He explains the project. He explains how difficult it will be. He explains that they will be working 16-hour days, 7 days a week for months. He expects a few people to volunteer. Maybe a dozen. 43 people show up. They crowd into the conference room. Engineers, machinists, draftsmen, quality inspectors. They range in age from 22 to 64. Some of them have sons in the military. Some of them have brothers. Some of them just believe it needs to be done. Brennan stands at the front of the room. He looks at these faces, these ordinary faces. People who come to work, do their jobs, go home to their families. He clears his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to ask you to do something unreasonable. The British Rolls-Royce Merlin is the finest aircraft engine ever built. It has never been mass-produced. Some people say it cannot be mass-produced. We are going to prove them wrong. Someone in the back raises a hand. It is a woman. She is 28 years old. Chinese American. Her name is Margaret Chen. Everyone calls her Maggie. Mr. Brennan, I have a question. Yes, Miss Chen. When do we start? Brennan smiles for the first time in weeks. Right now, over the next 4 months, something extraordinary happens in Detroit. Packard engineers take apart 2 sample Merlin engines, piece by piece. They measure every component. They document every tolerance. They analyze every material, and they discover a problem. The problem is that the British specifications are not precise enough for mass production. They allow for variation. They assume that skilled craftsmen will compensate for that variation during final assembly. But American mass production does not work that way. American mass production demands interchangeability. Any piston must fit any cylinder block. Any crankshaft must mate with any engine case. No hand fitting, no craftsman's judgment. Perfect precision from the start. Frank Weber, a senior engineer, brings this to Brennan's attention. Weber is a German immigrant. He fled Nazi Germany in 1937. His entire family is still there. He does not know if they are alive. Tom, these British tolerances are too loose. For mass production, yes. If we build engines to these specifications, we will have engines that run fine after hand fitting. But we will not have engines that are interchangeable. We will not have engines we can repair in the field by swapping parts. So what do you suggest? We tighten every tolerance. We respecify every dimension. We essentially redesign the entire engine. That could take a year. Then we better work fast. Brennan looks at the blueprints, looks at the calendar, looks at the photograph of Michael. Do it. And so they do. Over the next 11 months, Packard engineers create 6,000 new technical drawings. 6,000 drawings for 14,000 parts. They convert every measurement to American standards. They redesign every fastener to use British Whitworth threads, but machined to American precision. They analyze every material and find American equivalents, and they make improvements. The bearing material, for example. Rolls-Royce uses a copper-lead alloy. It works, but it wears quickly under high stress. Frank Weber proposes using a silver lead alloy plated with indium. It is more expensive, but it lasts 3 times longer. Brennan approves it. The supercharger balance system. Rolls-Royce balances the impellers by hand, shaving metal until the vibration feels right. Packard designs a dynamic balancing machine that measures vibration mathematically, removing all guesswork. The cooling passages, the air ducts, the ignition timing, piece by piece, system by system, the Merlin is not just copied, it is perfected. Maggie Chen works on thread cutting tools. British Whitworth threads have a 55-degree angle. American threads have a 60-degree angle. Every threading die, every cutting tool has to be custom made. She works 12-hour shifts, sometimes 14. Her supervisor tells her to go home. She refuses. When the engines are done, Mr. Supervisor, then I will go home. One night at 3 in the morning, she is alone in the tool room. She is cutting threads on a test piece, checking the angle with a precision gauge. Her eyes burn from fatigue. She hears footsteps. Brennan enters. He looks as exhausted as she feels. Miss Chen, what are you still doing here? The same thing you are, Mr. Brennan, trying to save lives. He sits down across from her. For a moment, they just sit in silence. Two people in an empty factory in the middle of the night trying to build a miracle. My uncle had a watch shop in Guangzhou, Maggie says. He taught me precision work, how to file metal until the tolerance is perfect, how to check your work 3 times. He said precision is respect for the material. Brennan nods. That is a good philosophy. He was killed when Japanese bombers destroyed his shop. No air defense, no warning. I learned precision from him. But I learned why precision matters from watching his shop burn. I'm sorry. Do not be sorry, Mr. Brennan. Help me make sure it never happens again. They work together until dawn. When the morning shift arrives, they are still there, still working, still refusing to fail, and slowly and possibly, the engine takes shape. Part 2, the transformation. June 2nd, 1943, 3:17 in the morning. The test cell at Packard's East Grand Boulevard plant is a concrete room with walls 3 feet thick. It has to be. When aircraft engines run at full power, the noise is not just loud, it is physical. It hits you in the chest, it vibrates your bones. Tonight, 2 engines sit on test stands. They look identical to the Rolls-Royce Merlins built in Derby, England. Same dimensions, same weight, same silhouette. But every single part was made in Detroit. Thomas Brennan stands behind a thick glass window. His clipboard shakes in his hands. He has not slept more than 4 hours a night for 11 months. His suit hangs loose. He has lost 20 pounds. There are lines in his face that were not there a year ago. Next to him stands Arthur Sinclair, the Rolls-Royce liaison. When Sinclair first arrived in Detroit, he was polite but condescending. He made it clear that he did not believe Americans could build the Merlin. He made it clear that mass production and precision engineering were incompatible. 11 months later, Sinclair is no longer condescending. He is nervous, because if these engines fail, his country continues to run out of Merlins. His pilots continue to die. If these engines succeed, everything changes. Behind them, 15 Packard engineers watch in silence. Maggie Chen is there. Frank Weber is there. Young Robert Hayes, fresh from MIT, is there. They have all given a year of their lives to this moment. The test engineer speaks into the intercom. Starting engine 1. Through the thick glass, they hear the starter motor engage. The propeller begins to turn, slowly at first, then faster. The engine coughs, catches, roars. The sound is violent, beautiful, alive. Brennan watches the gauges. Oil pressure rising, temperature climbing, RPM stabilizing at 3,000. Normal, everything is normal. Engine 2, the same sequence. Starter, propeller, cough, catch, roar. Both engines running. Both engines screaming at 3,000 RPM. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes, 15. Then the temperature gauge on engine 1 spikes, 10 degrees above normal. Someone gasps. Brennan leans forward. His heart is hammering. Come on, come on. The temperature climbs another 5 degrees, then stabilizes, then begins to drop. It was just a momentary fluctuation. A sensor reading, not a real problem. 20 minutes, 30, 45. The engines run perfectly. At 1 hour, Brennan gives the signal. The test engineer reduces power. The engines wind down. The roar becomes a rumble, then a whisper, then silence. In the silence, no one speaks. Then Arthur Sinclair turns to Brennan. There are tears running down his face. Mr. Brennan, he says quietly, you have done it. You have not just copied the Merlin. You have perfected it. Brennan wants to speak. Cannot. He sits down heavily, puts his face in his hands. Maggie Chen steps forward. She puts a hand on his shoulder, says nothing, just stands there. Frank Weber shakes his head slowly. 11 months, 6,000 drawings, 14,000 parts. Every measurement verified, every tolerance tightened. They have turned British craftsmanship into American precision. They have proven that soul and system are not enemies. They are partners. Brennan finally looks up. His eyes are red. How long until we can start production? Sinclair calculates. If we begin tooling immediately, 6 months minimum. Make it 4 months. Boys are dying. That is pushing it. Then we push. We do not have the luxury of time. The room is silent again. Then Frank Weber speaks. We can do 3 months if we run 3 shifts. 24 hours a day. Brennan looks at him. That will require doubling our workforce. Then we double it. Maggie speaks up. Mr. Brennan, we will work around the clock. Whatever it takes. Brennan looks around the room. These people. These ordinary, extraordinary people. For every pilot up there, he says. For every mother praying her son comes home. We will not fail. No one argues. No one leaves. They get back to work. But while Detroit is building miracles, men are still dying in the sky. Captain James Morrison returns to combat duty in February 1943. He has been grounded for 2 months. Combat fatigue, the doctors called it. He called it cowardice. He called it failure. For 2 months, he has done nothing but think about Danny Sullivan, about watching him burn, about being powerless. He wears Danny's dog tags now, 24 hours a day. He never takes them off. When he flies, he carries Danny's last letter in his flight suit. The letter Danny wrote but never mailed. The letter that talks about teaching Morrison to make spaghetti. The letter that ends with "See you at the pub tonight." Danny never made it to the pub. Morrison has changed. Everyone can see it. He does not laugh anymore. He does not joke. In the officers' club, he sits alone nursing a single whiskey, staring at nothing. He flies differently, too. More aggressive, more reckless. He takes risks that make other pilots nervous. In 8 months, he shoots down 12 German aircraft. But it does not feel like victory. It feels like revenge. And revenge is never satisfying. On October 20th, 1943, Morrison flies the escort to Cologne. The bombers are hitting the rail yards. German fighters are waiting at 28,000 feet. Morrison tries to intercept. His Allison engine struggles. 23,000 feet. 24. 25. That is all he can get. The German fighters dive through the formation. Morrison watches helplessly. 2 B-17s explode. Another takes hits and falls out of formation, trailing smoke. Morrison dives after the German fighters, down where his engine works. He closes on a Focke-Wulf 190, gets tone, fires, misses. The German pilot pulls up, climbs, escapes into the thin air, and Morrison tries to follow. The engine chokes. Power bleeds away. The German disappears. Morrison punches the instrument panel, screams into his oxygen mask. Radio discipline be damned. I am so goddamn useless. When he lands, he does not go to debriefing. He goes to his Mustang, climbs into the cockpit, sits there in the dark. He talks to Danny. I am trying, Danny boy. I am trying so hard. But I need help. I need an engine that works. I need something that lets me follow those bastards all the way up. The cockpit is silent. Morrison leans his head back, closes his eyes. Somewhere he thinks, somewhere someone is building something better. They have to be, because he cannot keep doing this. He cannot keep watching boys die while he is powerless to help. That night he writes in his diary. The handwriting is jagged, angry. October 20th, 1943. Watched 6 men die today. Could not do anything. Danny, I am sorry. I am trying. But I need help. He closes the diary, stares at the wall of his quarters. Somewhere in the world, his prayers being answered. 6,000 miles away, Klaus Weber is beginning to feel doubt. It starts small. Intelligence briefings mention new American aircraft, better engines, higher performance. Weber dismisses it. American propaganda. They are desperate. They are losing. But the briefings keep coming, and the tone changes. In October 1943, Weber's squadron commander calls a meeting. The mood is serious, gentlemen, the commander says. The situation has changed. American fighters are receiving new engines. Reports indicate altitude capability equal to ours, possibly superior. How is this possible, someone asks. New engines, Packard Merlins, built in Detroit, mass-produced. Intelligence believes they will begin arriving in theater within weeks. Weber speaks up. Mass-produced engines cannot match our precision. This is propaganda. The commander looks at him. Klaus, I hope you are right. But prepare for the possibility that you are wrong. The room goes quiet. Weber feels something he has not felt in years, uncertainty. That night, he writes in his diary. His handwriting is neat, controlled, but the words betray his anxiety. October 23, 1943. The Americans are developing new engines. Intelligence confirms this. I do not understand how mass production could achieve the necessary precision. But the reports are consistent. We may face a new threat soon. He pauses, then adds one more line. I hope our intelligence is wrong, he underlines it once, then closes the diary quickly as if the words might escape. By September 1943, Packard production has ramped up dramatically. The factory runs 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 10 engines per week becomes 50, then 100, then 200. By November, 400 engines per week roll off the assembly line, each one identical, each one perfect, each one interchangeable with every other Packard Merlin and every Rolls-Royce Merlin built in England. This has never happened before in aviation history. Thomas Brennan walks the factory floor every day, watching, checking, verifying. Maggie Chen has been promoted to Quality Control Supervisor. She is the first woman to hold that position at Packard. Her inspections are legendary. Workers fear them, but they respect her. One day she rejects an entire batch of crankshafts, 50 units, 2 days of production. The supervisor protests. They are within British tolerances. They are not within my tolerances. Remake them. That is 2 days of work. That is 50 potential failures at 30,000 feet. Your choice. 2 days or 50 pilots, the supervisor remakes them. Brennan watches from his office window, smiles. She gets it. That afternoon, a letter arrives from England. The return address is 357th Fighter Group. Brennan opens it carefully. Dear Mr. Brennan, you do not know me. I am Captain James Morrison. I fly P-51 Mustangs with the 8th Air Force. Last year, I wrote you a letter. I never sent it. I wrote it the day my best friend was killed because our engine could not follow German fighters to altitude. His name was Danny Sullivan. He was 22. His daughter was born 2 months after he died. She never met him. I'm writing today because I heard rumors. New engines, Packard Merlins, supposed to breathe at altitude. I do not know if the rumors are true. But if they are, if you are really building what they say you are building, please hurry. There are 1,000 Dannys up here, and we are all just waiting for help. Captain James Morrison, 357th Fighter Group. Brennan reads the letter 3 times. Then he shows it to Maggie Chen. She reads it, wipes her eyes. This is why we did it, she says. Brennan nods. He cannot speak. That evening, he writes back to Morrison. Dear Captain Morrison, your letter reached me today. I have a son in the war too. He is with the infantry in North Africa. Every night I pray that someone's work brings him home. The way our work will bring you home. The rumors are true. We are building the Packard Merlin. Production started in September. By December, your squadron should receive the first aircraft. The engine that will save you was built by thousands of people. But I want you to know about one person specifically. Her name is Margaret Chen. She is 28 years old. She emigrated from China. She lost family in the war. She will inspect every bearing in your engine. She will verify every thread on every fastener. When you fly, know that a young woman who lost everything made sure you would come home. We did not build engines, Captain. We built prayers wrapped in metal. Come home safe. When the war ends, the handshake is waiting. Thomas Brennan. He seals the letter, sends it. 2 weeks later, another letter arrives. This one is from North Africa, from Michael Brennan. Dad, I am okay. Caught some shrapnel in my leg. Not serious. They are sending me home for recovery. Should be stateside by Christmas. I hear you built an engine that is changing the war. That is my dad. Love, Mike. Brennan cries when he reads it, relief flooding through him. Sarah finds him, holds him. He is coming home, Tom. I know. I know. That night, Brennan allows himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, all of this suffering will be worth it. By November 1943, everything is ready. North American Aviation begins installing Packard Merlins into P-51 Mustangs. The new variant is designated P-51B. Same airframe, same wings, same guns, different heart. Test pilot Bob Chilton takes the first one up. He climbs through 10,000 feet. Engine strong, 15,000. Still pulling hard, 20,000. No power loss, 25,000. The altitude where Allison Engines died. Where Danny Sullivan died, the Packard Merlin does not even notice. Chilton keeps climbing. 30,000 feet, 32, 35. The engine is screaming. The propeller is biting into thin air. But the power is there, constant, reliable, unstoppable. Chilton keys his radio. His voice is shaking with excitement. Control, this is not the same airplane. This thing has wings at altitude. He lands, climbs out. Ground crew surrounds him. How was it? Chilton grins wide. That engine just changed the war. By December 1943, P-51Bs with Packard Merlins begin arriving in England. Morrison's squadron is one of the first to convert. He walks out to the flight line, sees his new aircraft. Same paint scheme, same number, but different engine cowling. The crew chief grins. Sir, this one is special, fresh from Detroit. Morrison climbs up, looks at the engine, sees the data plate. Packard Motor Company. Detroit, Michigan, engine number 47329. He touches the cowling, whispers, "Okay, Danny, let us see if this works." He climbs into the cockpit, runs through pre-flight checks. Everything feels different. The instruments are arranged slightly differently. The engine note is deeper, more authoritative. He starts the engine. The sound rumbles through his chest, deeper than the Allison, more powerful, more confident. He taxis, takes off. Wheels leave the ground. The Mustang leaps into the sky. Morrison climbs 10,000 feet. The engine is pulling hard. 15,000. Still strong. 20,000. No hesitation. 25,000 feet. The altitude that killed Danny. The altitude that has haunted Morrison for a year. He looks at the gauges. Full power, temperature normal, oil pressure steady. He keeps climbing. 30,000 feet, engine still screaming, still pulling. Morrison tears streaming down his face, keys his radio. "Lead, this is Hawk. I am at 30,000 feet with full power. This engine, this is what we needed. Roger, Hawk." Welcome back to the war. Morrison circles at altitude, looking down at England, looking up at empty sky. For the first time since Danny died, he feels hope. He touches the dog tags around his neck. Danny's dog tags. "Okay, Danny boy," he whispers. "Now we can fight back." He does not know that somewhere in Germany, Klaus Weber is writing in his diary about new American engines and feeling fear for the first time. He does not know that in 32 years, he will knock on Klaus Weber's door carrying bacon and forgiveness. All he knows is that finally, after 12 months of helplessness, he has the tool he needs. And he is going to use it. Part 3. The Reckoning. December 1st, 1943. Debden Airfield, England. Morning frost covers the grass. The sun is just breaking over the horizon, painting the clouds gold and red. 24 P-51 Mustangs sit on the hard stand. All of them have new engines. Packard Merlins, freshly installed, untested in combat. Captain James Morrison stands beside his aircraft. He has been standing here for 10 minutes, just looking at it. The crew chief watches him nervously. "Sir, everything okay?" Morrison nods slowly, just thinking about a friend. The crew chief understands. Everyone has lost friends. Everyone carries ghosts. "Sir, that engine is solid. Detroit's finest. She will bring you home." Morrison looks at the data plate on the cowling. Engine 47329. Built by someone he will never meet. Someone who cared enough to get every detail perfect. He climbs into the cockpit, straps in, runs through his checklist. Everything feels different. Tighter, more responsive. Like the airplane has been asleep and is finally waking up. He starts the engine. The sound makes him smile. Deep, powerful, confident. The mission briefing was clear. Escort bombers to Emden, German coastal defenses, heavy flak, enemy fighters expected. The formation takes off, 24 Mustangs climbing into the winter sky. They rendezvous with the bomber stream at 15,000 feet, 60 B-17s, 600 men, all of them depending on the fighters to keep them alive. Morrison checks his engine gauges. Everything perfect. He climbs to 25,000 feet, the altitude where his old engine would have been gasping. The Packard Merlin does not even notice. Power stays constant. Temperature normal. It pulls like it has unlimited altitude capability. Morrison keys his radio. Lead this is Hawk. At 25,000, engine performance is exceptional. Roger Hawk. Welcome to the new war. They fly east, into Germany. The bomber stream stays tight. Gunners scanning the sky. Everyone knows what is coming. Then the call comes. Bandits high 12 o'clock. Morrison looks up. There they are, black dots against the blue. Focke-Wulf 190s, maybe 15 of them. At 32,000 feet, the altitude where German fighters have always been safe. Morrison pulls back on the stick. The Mustang climbs. 28,000, 30,000, 32,000. The Packard Merlin screams, but it does not falter, does not hesitate. It delivers power like it was designed for this exact moment, because it was. The German fighters begin their dive. They expect the Americans to be far below, unable to intercept. Instead, Morrison and his flight are right there, waiting. The lead German pilot Klaus Weber sees American fighters at his altitude. His radio crackles with disbelief. Was zum Teufel? What is this? Weber has been flying since 1939. He has never seen American fighters at 30,000 feet. Never. He tries to climb away. The standard tactic. Go higher. Americans cannot follow. But Morrison follows, easily. The Packard Merlin pulls him up like gravity does not exist. Weber looks back, sees the Mustang closing. Panic begins to set in. He dives, trying to use speed to escape. Morrison follows. The Mustang is faster in the dive. Weber pulls up, trying to outclimb. Morrison stays with him, engine never missing a beat. They spiral, twist, turn at altitude, where Americans were never supposed to fight. Morrison gets tone. His heart is pounding. This is for Danny. This is for every helpless moment. This is for every bomber crew that died because fighters could not protect them. He fires, hits Weber's wingman. The Focke-Wulf explodes. Weber breaks left, dives hard, escapes into cloud cover. Morrison does not follow. His job is not to chase kills. His job is to protect the bombers. He climbs back up, takes position above the formation. The German fighters try twice more to attack. Both times American Mustangs are waiting at altitude. Both times the Germans are forced to break off. Not a single bomber is lost. When Morrison lands, he sits in the cockpit for 5 minutes, just breathing. The ground crew approaches carefully. Sir Morrison looks at them. His face is wet. He is crying and smiling at the same time. It works. It actually works. That night, he writes in his diary. The handwriting is different, steadier, more hopeful. December 1st, 1943. First mission with the Packard Merlin. Flew to 32,000 feet. Engaged Germans at their altitude. They could not believe it. We saved every bomber. Not one lost. Danny, wherever you are, we can finally fight back. Thank you, Detroit. Thank you. He does not know that the pilot he almost shot down will one day stand in his kitchen crying over bacon. He does not know that the war is about to turn. All he knows is that finally, after 12 months of helplessness, the sky is no longer owned by the enemy. Klaus Weber lands his damaged fighter at his airfield outside Berlin. His hands are shaking. He climbs out. His squadron commander is waiting. What happened up there, Americans? At our altitude, with power, their engines did not quit. The commander nods grimly. We are seeing this everywhere. The new American engines, Packard Merlins, they have altitude capability equal or superior to ours. How is this possible? Mass production cannot achieve this precision. Apparently it can. Klaus, the war is changing. The Americans have numbers we cannot match. And now they have quality too. Weber goes to his quarters, sits on his bunk, stares at the wall. For the first time since 1939, he allows himself to think the forbidden thought. What if we cannot win? He pushes the thought away, but it keeps coming back. Over the next 4 months, Weber's squadron is bled white. Pilot after pilot lost. Aircraft after aircraft shot down. The Americans are everywhere now, always at altitude, always with power. Their engines never quit, never fail. German engines, stressed by years of war and shortages of quality materials, begin to break down more frequently. The gap widens. By April 1944, Weber has gone from hunter to hunted. On April 12th, he flies what he does not know will be his last mission. The briefing is desperate. Protect Berlin at all costs. Weber leads his flight up to 30,000 feet. They are outnumbered 4-1. But altitude used to be an advantage. Not anymore. American Mustangs are already there. P-51s with Packard Merlins. They own the sky now. The dogfight lasts 7 minutes. Weber shoots down one Mustang, but his wingman is killed. His number 3 is killed. His number 4 bails out with a damaged aircraft. Then an American gets behind Weber. He tries everything, every trick he knows, every maneuver he has perfected over 5 years of war. Nothing works. The American pilot is good, and his engine gives him options Weber no longer has. Cannon fire rips through Weber's fighter. Engine explodes. Fire. Weber bails out, watches his aircraft tumble earthward, burning. He lands in a field. French resistance fighters capture him within an hour. They hand him to American forces. The war is over for Klaus Weber. But his education is just beginning. At the POW camp in England, Weber refuses to cooperate. He is a German officer. He has his pride. He has his beliefs. For 3 days, he refuses food, refuses to speak, sits in his cell and stares at the wall. On the 4th day, an American guard brings him breakfast. The guard is an older black man. His name tag says Samuel. He sets a tray on the table. The smell fills the cell. Bacon, scrambled eggs, toast, real butter, coffee, orange juice. Weber stares at the food. He has not seen food like this in 2 years, maybe longer. In Germany, rations are thin. Bread is mixed with sawdust. Meat is a memory, but this is real food. The bacon is thick. The eggs are golden. The coffee smells like heaven. Weber refuses it. I will not eat your food. Samuel shrugs. Suit yourself. But it is bacon and eggs today. Tomorrow might be oatmeal. Samuel leaves the tray, walks away. Weber sits alone with the food. His stomach growls. The smell is overwhelming. He tells himself he is strong. He tells himself this is a test. He tells himself eating American food is betraying his country. He lasts 2 hours. Then he picks up the fork, takes a bite of eggs. They are perfect, creamy, rich, seasoned with real butter and salt. He takes a bite of bacon, crispy, salty, fat and meat in perfect balance. He chews slowly, closes his eyes. He tries not to cry. This is not the food of a nation losing the war. This is not the food of a weak, decadent people. This is the food of abundance, of wealth, of a country that has so much it can give bacon and eggs to prisoners. Everything he was taught begins to crack. The next day, Samuel returns. How was breakfast? Weber does not answer immediately. Then quietly. It was good. American bacon, free-range pigs, no ration stamps. You have no rationing. Samuel laughs. Son, we have rationing, but it is nothing like yours. We complain about butter limits while you are mixing your bread with sawdust. Weber looks up. How did you know about the sawdust? Other prisoners told us. Klaus, you were lied to about a lot of things. I was fighting for my country. I know. But your country was fighting for evil. And now you get to decide who you will be next. Weber wants to argue, wants to defend Germany, wants to defend himself. But the words do not come, because deep down he is starting to realize the truth. Over the next week, Samuel brings Weber breakfast every morning. Always friendly, always patient. They talk about the war, about Germany, about America, about race. One morning, Weber asked the question that has been bothering him. Samuel, in Germany, we were taught that black people are inferior, that they should be enslaved or eliminated. And yet you are here, feeding me, a free man, while I am in a cage. How do you not hate me? Samuel sits down. This is going to take a minute. He tells Weber about growing up in Mississippi, about Jim Crow laws, about segregation, about lynchings, about the constant grinding hatred. I know hate, Samuel says. Real hate. Your hate was taught, mine was lived. But here's the thing. Hate does not die when you pass it forward. Hate only dies when you refuse to carry it. But I fought for people who would have killed you, I know. And I am still going to bring you bacon tomorrow. You know why? Because you are not fighting anymore. War is over for you. Now you get to choose who you are next, evil or good, hateful or kind. Your past does not decide your future. You do. Weber sits in silence, processing. That night he writes in his diary, April 28, 1944. I have been here 2 weeks. An American soldier, a black man, brings me breakfast every morning. He knows what we believed. He knows what we did. And he still shows me kindness. I do not understand this, but I am beginning to think I do not understand anything. Klaus Weber's transformation has begun, but it will take 30 more years to complete. While Weber is learning to see truth, American factories are building the future. By August 1944, Packard is producing 400 Merlin engines per week, more than all British factories combined. The engines are identical, perfect, interchangeable. A bearing from an engine built in January fits an engine built in July. A piston from Detroit fits an engine from Derby. This has never happened before in aviation. Total interchangeability at scale. Maintenance times drop by 60%. Reliability soars. Engines stay on the wing longer. Aircraft availability increases. The air war becomes a numbers game, and America finally has the numbers. Thomas Brennan receives letters from pilots, dozens of them, all saying the same thing. Thank you, your engine brought me home. He reads each one, keeps them in a box in his office. One afternoon in September 1944, Morrison's second letter arrives. Dear Mr. Brennan, I wrote you last year. You wrote back. I carried your letter on 63 missions, everyone with a Packard Merlin. The war in Europe is ending. We can all feel it. The Germans are finished. We own the sky now. Because of your engine, I do not know how to thank you properly. But I will try when I get home. Your son Michael survived. I hope Major James Morrison, 357th Fighter Group Brennan, writes back immediately. Dear Major Morrison, Michael came home last year. Wounded but alive. He is at university now, studying engineering. He says he wants to build things that save lives, not take them. You have flown 63 missions. That is 63 times your engine brought you home. But more than that, it is 63 times you protected bombers. How many lives did you save? Hundreds. Thousands. The handshake is still waiting. When you come home, come to Detroit. There are people here who want to meet the man whose life they saved. Thomas Brennan. By May 1945, the war in Europe ends. Germany surrenders. The killing stops. Morrison flies his final combat mission on May 7th. He lands, shuts down his Packard Merlin for the last time, sits in the cockpit. He touches the engine cowling. Thanks it. Thanks Detroit. Thanks everyone who made it possible for him to come home. That night he removes Danny's dog tags. For the first time in 2.5 years. He holds them, looks at them. I am coming home, Danny. I wish you were too. He puts the dog tags in a box, seals it. He will keep them forever. But he will not wear them anymore, because the war is over, and he needs to live. Klaus Weber hears the surrender announcement on the radio in the POW camp. Around him, other German prisoners react differently. Some cry, some sit in silence, some rage. Weber feels nothing, emptiness, everything he believed, everything he fought for, gone. Samuel finds him sitting alone. Klaus, you okay? I do not know what I am. You are a man who gets to choose what happens next. That is a gift most people do not get. What should I choose? That is up to you. But I can tell you this. Hate is easy. Forgiveness is hard. The easy path leads nowhere. The hard path leads home. I do not have a home anymore. Then build one. Here, in America. Why would you let me stay after everything? Because America is the country where people get second chances. Even people who do not deserve them. Weber looks at Samuel, this man who has shown him more kindness than he deserves. I do not understand you. You do not have to understand. You just have to accept it. It's down. In June 1945, Morrison returns home to California. His wife Jenny is waiting. They have not seen each other in 2 years. She runs to him. They hold each other and cry. They drive home. Morrison is different. Jenny can see it. The war has marked him. He is quieter, more serious. One night she asks him, what will you do now I am staying in the Air Force, training new pilots? If I can keep them alive, maybe all of this meant something. She kisses him. That is the man I married. In 1909, Klaus Weber is released from the POW camp. Germany is in ruins. His family is dead. His home is destroyed. Samuel finds him the day before his release. I talked to some people. You can emigrate to America. I can sponsor you. Weber stares at him. After everything, after what my country did, your country, not you. You do not get to choose where you are born, Klaus, but you get to choose what you do next. I do not deserve this kindness. Nobody deserves kindness. That is why it matters. In 1948, Klaus Weber arrives in Texas. He works as a mechanic, quiet, hardworking. He never talks about the war. He buys a small farm, grows vegetables, lives simply. In 1955, he marries an American woman. They have a son. He names the boy Samuel. Years later, the boy asks why that name. Weber tells him about the man who saved his life by teaching him how to be human. Morrison and Weber live separate lives. Neither knows the other survived the war. Neither knows they will meet again. Morrison retires from the Air Force in 1970. Full colonel, 25 years of service. He and Jenny settle in California. He works as a flight instructor. In 1972, Danny Sullivan's daughter, Catherine, contacts Morrison. She is 29 years old now, married, 2 children. She wants to know about her father. Morrison tells her everything, the missions they flew together, the jokes Danny told, the way he laughed, the letter he wrote but never sent. Catherine listens, cries, thanks him. Then she says something that changes everything. Uncle Jim, I want to find the pilot who shot him down. I want to understand what happened. Morrison is quiet for a long time. Why would you want that? Because I need to know he was a real person, not just a monster. If I can understand him, maybe I can forgive him. And if I can forgive him, maybe I can let go of the anger I have carried my whole life. Morrison researches, pulls files, calls old contacts. In 1973, he finds a record. Hauptmann Klaus Weber, POW, released 1947, emigrated to United States. Current address, Austin, Texas. Morrison stares at the address for an hour. The man who killed Danny is alive. In America, 2 states away. He does not know what to do with this information. He writes letters, tears them up, writes more, tears them up. Jenny finds him one night, surrounded by crumpled paper. What are you doing? Danny's killer lives in Texas. And I do not know if I want to kill him or thank him. Thank him. If Danny had not died, I might not have gotten angry enough to survive. His death made me fight harder, made me more careful. His death might have saved my life. How do I process that? By meeting him, face to face. I do not know if I can. Catherine wants to meet him. She asked you to arrange it. Morrison looks at his wife. Then I have to. For her, for Danny, for myself. In May 1975, Morrison makes the drive to Austin. He stops at a butcher shop, buys 2 pounds of thick-cut hickory bacon, the premium kind. The butcher wraps it carefully. Who is this for? Someone I tried to kill 32 years ago. The butcher laughs nervously. Morrison does not. Now we return to where we began. The farmhouse, the knock on the door, the 2 old men seeing each other for the first time since 1944. Morrison holding bacon. Weber crying, "Come in, please, come in." They sit in the kitchen, coffee brewing. The smell fills the small house. Neither man knows how to start. Finally, Weber speaks. I have thought about this moment for 30 years. Me too. I do not know how to apologize. Sorry does not bring your friend back. No, it does not. I was taught you were my enemy. I believed it. I was wrong. I was taught you were evil. I believed it. I was not entirely wrong. Weber nods. No, you were not. We did evil things. Did you? Personally, I followed orders. I believed lies. Does that absolve me? Morrison is quiet for a moment. No, but it makes you human. I have lived with guilt every day, Weber says. Every American I shot down had a name, a family, like your Danny. His name was Danny Sullivan. Chicago, 22 years old. His wife Mary was 7 months pregnant. Their daughter Catherine was born 2 months after he died. She never knew her father. Weber's face crumples. Catherine, she is 32 now, yes. What does she do? She is a teacher, married, 2 children. Your son is a teacher too, you said yes. Samuel, named after the man who saved my life. Morrison watches this old man cry. This former enemy, this fellow human being. I came here to hate you, Morrison says quietly, to finally have a face for my rage. And I find a broken old man who grows tomatoes and flies an American flag. Weber laughs through his tears. Samuel taught me what that flag really means. Not conquest, not oppression. Second chances. Morrison reaches into his jacket, pulls out a letter. This is from Catherine. She wants to meet you. Weber's hands shake as he takes the letter. He reads it slowly. His tears fall on the paper. The letter explains that Catherine has lived her whole life with a hole where her father should be. She explains that Uncle Jim filled that hole as best he could. But she explains that she needs to understand. She needs to see that the man who killed her father was human. Because if she can see that, she can forgive. And if she can forgive, the war finally ends. Weber finishes reading, looks at Morrison. She wants to forgive me. She wants to try. I do not deserve this. Morrison's voice is firm. None of us deserve grace. That is why it is called grace. When she is outside, in the car, waiting, Weber stands up so fast his chair falls over. Now she is here now if you are ready. I will never be ready. But yes, please. Morrison walks to the door, opens it, signals. A woman gets out of the car. 32 years old, dark hair, her father's eyes, 2 small children with her. Catherine Sullivan Miller walks up the path to the farmhouse. Her heart is pounding. She has imagined this moment for 2 years. She enters the kitchen, sees Klaus Weber, old, broken, crying. Hauptmann Weber. Just Klaus. Please. She extends her hand. He takes it. His hands are rough from farm work, gentle despite their size. You killed my father. I did. I am so sorry. I know. I forgive you. Weber collapses, just drops to his knees, sobbing. Why? Why would you forgive me? Catherine kneels beside him. Because hate killed my father. I will not let it kill me too. Her children stand in the doorway, confused, scared. Catherine calls them over. Kids, this is Mr. Weber. A long time ago, he and Grandpa Danny were on different sides of a war. But today, we are all on the same side. The little boy asks, what side is that? The human side, sweetie. The human side. Weber looks up at Catherine. Your father. What was he like? Catherine smiles. Let me tell you about him. They sit. Morrison makes fresh coffee. Catherine tells stories about the father she never met. Stories Morrison told her, stories from letters Danny wrote. Weber listens, mourning the man he killed, grateful for the woman who forgives him. Outside, a P-51 flies overhead, air show practicing nearby. That sound, the Merlin engine, unmistakable. They all stop. Listen. Morrison smiles. That is a Packard Merlin, same engine that powered my plane. Weber nods. The engine that finally let you catch me. Catherine says quietly. The engine that brought you all together. The sound fades. They return to talking, to healing, to becoming something neither man thought possible. Friends, Klaus Weber and James Morrison correspond until Weber's death in 1989. Long letters, phone calls, visits every year. Catherine Sullivan Miller and Samuel Weber's children of former enemies become friends too. Their children play together. In 1987, Morrison and Weber make a pilgrimage together. They fly to Detroit, visit the old Packard plant, now a museum. They find the records for engine 47329, Morrison's engine, the one that changed everything. Final Inspector Margaret Chen, assembled by Team 7, quality checked 3 times, approved for combat use. Morrison writes a letter to Maggie. The museum helps him find her address. She is 74 years old now, retired, living in a small apartment in Detroit. Dear Miss Chen, you do not know me, but your hands built the machine that saved my life. Engine 47329. You inspected every bearing, every thread, every tolerance. That engine flew me through 63 combat missions. It brought me home every time. It let me protect bombers that would have been massacred without escort. But more than that, it connected me to my enemy, the German pilot who shot down my best friend. Because of your engine, I survived to meet him, to forgive him, to become his friend. You were not just building an engine, you were building peace. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, James Morrison. Colonel, United States Air Force, retired. Maggie writes back 2 days later. The handwriting is shaky but clear. Dear Colonel Morrison, I am an old woman now. I do not have much time left. But your letter made me cry happy tears. I remember working on those engines. 12-hour days, checking every part 3 times. Mr. Brennan told us that lives depended on our precision. We believed him. To know that my work not only saved your life, but helped you find forgiveness, that is more than I ever hoped for. That is what America does. We build bridges, not just engines. I am glad you both came home. Love, Margaret Chen. She dies 2 weeks later, peacefully, in her sleep. Morrison and Weber attend her funeral. 2 old men, former enemies, standing together at the grave of a woman who built the engine that connected them. The funeral ends with a flyover, a P-51 Mustang from a local air museum. The pilot dips his wings over the cemetery. The Merlin engine screams one last time. For Maggie, for Danny, for Klaus, for Samuel, for all of them. The engine that brought enemies home. Morrison stands in his living room now. It is 2010. He is 93 years old. Jenny died 5 years ago. He misses her every day. On the wall hangs a photograph. 2 old men, Morrison and Weber, taken in 1987, both smiling, arms around each other's shoulders. Morrison's grandson visits, James Morrison III, fighter pilot. Flies F-35s now. The grandson looks at the photograph. Grandpa, tell me again, how did you forgive him? Morrison is quiet for a long time. Then he speaks. I did not forgive him because he deserved it. I forgave him because I deserved peace. Hate is a burden, son. It weighs you down. It keeps you in the war forever. Forgiveness sets you free. But he killed your best friend. He did. And I wore Danny's dog tags for 2.5 years. But eventually I realized something. Danny would not want me to spend my life hating. He would want me to live, to love, to find peace. Did you ever stop missing him? Never, not for one day. But I stopped being angry, and that made all the difference. The grandson nods, understands. Outside, an air show is practicing. A P-51 flies past. That sound, still unmistakable after 70 years. Morrison closes his eyes, listens, smiles. That sound, he says, is not just an engine. That is the sound of people refusing to give up. That is the sound of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That is the sound of enemies becoming friends. That is the sound of freedom. The Packard Merlin, 55,523 engines built, every one identical, every one perfect, every one a prayer wrapped in metal. Still flying today, still screaming across the sky, still reminding us that precision and soul are not enemies, that mass production and craftsmanship can be partners, that former enemies can become friends, and that sometimes the greatest victory is not destroying your enemy, it is turning them into your brother. The engine roars past one more time. Morrison salutes. Thank you, Detroit. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Danny, for teaching me how to forgive. The sound fades into the distance, but the lesson remains. War ends when we choose to let it end, when we choose forgiveness over hatred, when we choose understanding over anger. The engine brought them home, all of them, American and German, victor and vanquished. And in the end, they were all just men, trying to survive, trying to find meaning, trying to come home. The Merlin gave them that chance, and they took it. That is the real victory, not in the sky, but in the heart.